Telltale's The Walking Dead: A New Frontier had finally concluded, and oh boy, do I have a lot to say about it. In this video, I'm going to discuss what I thought about the new season, what I liked, what I disliked, what could be improved upon, and what the gameplay was like. Basically an opinion video, because we all know how well opinion goes on the internet, right? Telltale's The Walking Dead is an episodic series that consists of 3 seasons. In the third, or A New Frontier, we follow the story of Javier Garcia, a former baseball player who tries to survive in this apocalyptic world with his young niece and nephew and his sister-in-law. Over the course of 5 episodes, Javi is faced with tough decisions that make the player question their humanity. As a fan of the Walking Dead series, and more specifically the story of Season 1 of the game, I had high hopes for what A New Frontier was supposed to be. But out of all the seasons for the series, I felt that this was the weakest one. Okay, hold on, let me explain. Clementine was an important character of the series, as she was the one who was here since the beginning. In Season 1, she was under the care of Lee, whom I love dearly, and we see her grow and react to the beginning of this apocalyptic world. By the end, Lee dies, and we move on to Season 2. Now having Clementine as the protagonist, we experience the apocalyptic world through the eyes of a child. And yeah, I had major issues with the writing of that season, but that's for another story. Clementine is the focal point of this series, and to have her pretty much tossed aside was kinda stupid. I know we still got to see her, but her story was so broken up, we didn't get to fully understand how much Clementine had changed from Season 2 to A New Frontier. Back when Telltale was advertising A New Frontier, whether it was during E3 or any other convention, it seems as if they were pushing Clementine in her story, and like myself, many were expecting for her to be the main protagonist, and Javi to be a side character. Now, I understand Telltale wanted to try something new, and I don't hate Javi, I actually really love his character. But the whole placement of his story with Clementine felt out of place. We only really saw Clementine's past through a bunch of flashbacks that kind of felt rushed for the sake of getting rid of characters like Jane, Kenny, and AJ. Depending on who you choose, back in Season 2, Clementine was left with the decision on who she was going to end up with, either with Kenny or Jane. There was also an option for Clem to be by herself with AJ, but I'm only going to focus on these 2. During the flashbacks in A New Frontier, we see what Clem had to do with these 2 and how they survived after the events of Season 2. With Kenny, they ended up trying to find another place to live as Wellington wasn't an option for them, while with Jane, they headed back to Hal's warehouse and tried to reclaim the huge lot. During both flashback versions, Kenny and Jane die. Should they have died? Well, that's up in the air. Personally, I felt the way they wrote off both characters was a waste, and a way to get rid of the characters so they can only focus on Javi. And sure, we should at this point because the season is focusing on Javi's story, but come on, at least give Jane and Kenny a better exit, like seriously. Why?
I don't feel anything.
That's good.
No, Clem, I don't feel anything. I can't feel my legs.
I'll take great care of him. I promise.
I know you will, Clementine. I wouldn't trust AJ with anybody else.
AJ, come on!
Now let's take a look at the new characters: Javi, Kate, Mari, Gabe, and David. The Garcia family are the main characters of this story while having a perspective through Javi. I will say I do love Javi's character. I've said it multiple times during my videos, but I compare Javi to Glenn from the comics and the TV show. He's pretty much the heart of the story, the guy who will always do the right thing in the end, the guy who has his humanity still intact despite living in this cruel world. He's pretty much the model good guy, who happens to be good looking and hilarious when he wants to be.
A little lower and you might have lost an eye. And that is not something you want to mess around with.
That's exactly why I keep a spare, right? Just in case. You know, I bet I'd look pretty badass with an eye patch.
Hey, don't joke.
I felt like Javi was interesting to have as the main protagonist for A New Frontier. Why? Well, because we've dealt with darker characters. What I mean by that is Lee and Clementine were put in terrible situations and had to do so many fucked up things to the point where many people, like myself, favored more the survival or darker choices of the story, like stealing supplies, cutting off arms, sewing up your own arm, and watching a man get his face beaten. Although we mainly saw Javi in the present and not really when the apocalypse started, Javi's experience was pretty tame compared to Lee and Clementine. The interesting thing is like having fresh eyes to this world and what it's like to see it in a more innocent or lighter way. Does this lessen the seriousness of the story? Well, not really. Sure, Javi's jokes were hilarious, but I don't think it takes away from the situations we had to deal with.
Seriously? Fuck you, helicopter. I hope you choke on your fucking cake. It looked like shit, by the way.
Now about Kate. Oh boy. It's no secret I didn't like her. Her character just enraged me. She pretty much avoided all her problems and tried to dump herself on Javi in order to cope. Is this bad? Well, not really. It's pretty realistic as in context with dealing with the dad taking over, but not exactly why I hate her. She was so forced within the story. The romantic relationship between Kate and Javi was stupid. It was so forced and so one-sided that even if you didn't want a romantic relationship, the game would continue to push by going, "Are you sure you don't want to date her? We think you should date her." The whole dating choice was honestly just a trope for family drama as soon as David returned into the picture. And even if you continue to deny Kate's advances, once David found out, and by the way, he took a long ass time to figure that out, Javi, or you the player, still gets burned regardless of what you picked.
Well, it's time for you to finally learn what blood really means!
David!
Dad! What do you have to say for yourself, brother?
David! Stop it!
I love you.
No. No, you don't get to say that!
Jesus Christ, stop!
The real theme of this season is family, and I understand that there has to be some sort of drama in order to make us, the players, question our decisions and to understand there will be consequences to what we pick. But when you don't romance Kate, you just get shit on no matter what, and that's bullshit. Again, enforcing that your choices didn't really matter. You're going to get driven into this family drama even though you didn't start anything. That brings us to the choices of the game. Like any other Telltale game, they are choose-your-own-adventure games, meaning whatever choice you pick, it will alter the story and will change depending on the player. For example, you get to decide how Javi acts, the nice guy, the asshole, or the straight-up hilarious sarcastic dude.
Very funny.
These choices are huge for Telltale and a core part of their gameplay. That's what attracted me to Telltale's games in the first place. We had an option to create our own story in this universe. A lot of the choices for this season didn't only affect Javi and his family, but some choices that were made were to affect Clementine as well. A lot of the choices were straightforward, pretty much how you wanted to react in a certain situation, be it going with Kate to get her to a doctor or to stay with Clem to finish off the new frontier. For me, it felt as if your end choices didn't matter. There wasn't a satisfying feeling of, yeah, this matters. One game that I felt had the right handle on choices was Life is Strange. And I know people will argue and say the final choice was the only choice and nothing else mattered. Well, yes and no. There was a deeper meaning to those choices rather than deciding the fate of Chloe Price and Arcadia Bay. All the choices mattered because of the story. They were for Chloe to live, to be happy, and for Max's redemption of leaving her. I understand it's extremely difficult to cater to every single player who comes across this game, and I understand it's extremely difficult to have multiple story plots, lines, and endings for a single game that incorporates multiple choice gameplay. But recently I felt like Telltale has lost it in how to tell a story with this gameplay element. Comparing A New Frontier with Season 1, ultimately all the characters from Season 1 died, including the protagonist Lee. And while yes, it seems as if the choices you made didn't matter, except they did, or it was meant to. The impression was that whatever choices you were making as Lee would pass on to Clementine as we continue the story with her. The choices were meant to give an impression on how Clementine was supposed to be in Season 2, and how she was going to act, and how it would influence our choices as we play her in Season 2. Although majority of the story for A New Frontier was focused on the theme of family, it felt flat for me. Almost all major choices that were given was to force the player to pick on drama rather than the sake of story or development. For example, the choice on saving Tripp or Ava in episode 4. This was the most frustrating storylines I have ever encountered in a video game. Upon arriving back in Richmond, Javi and the gang come up with a plan to take out Joan, the crazy woman who is one of the leaders of Richmond. Not only did she have David captured, she had Tripp and Ava too. Thanks to you know fucking who, I still hate her. We were given a choice to either save Tripp or Ava, but in the end your choice doesn't matter, as the one you picked was the one who was killed off in the end. I believe this choice is meant to test the player's loyalty, whether you gave it to your friends or to your brother, but no matter what you picked, it was wasted. In episode 5, whatever character was saved will be with the group as they attempt to escape Richmond, but in the end, just like Kenny and Jane, were killed off in such a stupid way. It was like Telltale was just once again killing off these characters because they had no idea what to do with them, or just because there was too many at this point. It's The Walking Dead, I get it, people have to die, but like this? Really?
Don't be fucking thick! I can handle this! Oh, shit. Fucker!
Trip! No!
Ah!
You've got to be more careful.
Oh, fuck! Holy shit!
Oh my god! Ava! Fuck! God damn it, no!
A lot of the game didn't really feel like a game, and yes, I get that these games are more narrative. You're not exactly going to cast magic spells and build armor for Javi, but compared to Season 1, there was very limited of walking around the map and doing stuff. In Season 1, when we played as Lee, we had a lot of things to do around the map. Stuff that was necessary for the story and stuff that wasn't. For example, looking around the St. John's family dairy to see what they were hiding. But we also got to do side stuff like finding candy bars to feed Clementine in the group, or finding batteries for Carly's radio. Now about the endings. Like Season 2, A New Frontier had multiple endings. Depending on what choices you made will lead to a main character dying. Let's start with Kate. She has 3 possible outcomes. One of the endings where she dies was completely stupid. When Javi returns from going after Gabe and saving him, we come back to a chaotic Richmond to only find Clem without Kate.
This isn't fucking happening!
Javi.
What happened?
I don't know, buddy. I can't find her.
I can't stop looking! Kate, where are you?
Kate! Kate!
Kate, please!
Kate, where the fuck are you?
In the end, Kate was never found and assumed dead. Off-screen deaths are never my favorite, especially when there's no closure with the character. Even the other death endings, we didn't see how she died, but at least we got some sense of what happened instead of her flat out missing. It was a cheap way of writing Kate off, leaving her like that with so many questions that will most likely never be answered. David does have death scenes where you don't see him die except for one. I felt this scene where Gabe puts him down was a good ending for David's character. It was sad, and even more so knowing that David admits to his mistakes and to see his own son end him.
Te quiero, Gabriel. Te quiero, Mariana. Te quiero, Javier.
Could his death be pushed more? I think so. How I see David's character is a flawed man trying to redeem himself but in the wrong way. The way Telltale had him interact with Javi was cold and contradicting with every move he made. The theme of family was a big one in this season, and David was always saying he wanted to look out for his family, but he never included Javi in that. I always thought the ending would be between Javi and David, as if Javi would be the one who had to kill him. Kind of like how Clementine had to kill Kenny in order to let him see what he's become. Gabe is also another one who can die during the ending, and I felt like that was the saddest one of them all. Whether you hate the kid or not, he's still a kid. He only did what he thought was right, to stand by his father whom he lost before. In a way, I did feel like Gabe was the one who had the big character arc out of all the characters, starting out as a hot-headed idiot, but depending on how you handled Gabe and the choices regarding Javi, you can see Gabe change.
All I know is, if it wasn't for him...
Back the fuck off! Now! Just back away!
Take it easy, son.
Gabe, you know guns are a last resort.
What else am I supposed to do? He was threatening you.
Just do it already. I don't even care anymore.
Just put it down, Gabe.
Come on, kid.
You kill an unarmed man, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. You hear me?
Don't touch my uncle again. Fuck me.
Gabe!
Let him go. He just needs to cool off.
No.
No!
I tried to stop him, Javi. That's when we crashed.
God damn. David!
He fought for me, Javi. Until they... But I couldn't. There were so many.
And like any great death scene, to make it sad, you need to kill the character when they're having an arc or turning point. Sadly, that was Gabe.
Give me your gun, Javi. I don't want to turn into a muerto.
Gabe, I don't know if I can let you do that to yourself.
And I can't make you guys do it for me. Just give me the gun.
No. No, Gabe. I'll do it.
Okay. Okay. You may not be my father, Javi, but you are a great dad. I love you, Javi.
I love you too, buddy.
This leaves us with Javi and Clem, the two who will survive no matter what happens. Javi's end was, well, just an end. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with him or his family. The only major change we got is if Javi would like to stay and lead Richmond or move on. I got the impression that we're not going to see him for a long while, now that Telltale is focusing back on Clementine. After the credits, there is a scene where we see Clementine heading out of Richmond in search for AJ. Overall, I felt as if Clementine was just bait in order to have people play the game to an unsatisfied ending over the course of 5 episodes. The transition from her character to a new character was messy and rushed. There's nothing wrong with new characters or the fact that we got to play as Javi, but I would prefer it if they had at least balanced him and Clem's story better. There were a lot of unanswered questions like how Kate really died, will we see Javi again, and where the fuck is AJ? Like seriously, every damn episode I kept asking where AJ was and we didn't even get to see him, let alone know what really happened to him. Now, not everything was bad. I did love Javi. His character was refreshing to see in a setting where a majority of characters are dark. I love that the game still connects with the Walking Dead comics by having Jesus be included in it, while mentioning the kingdom and hints of Rick and his people. Having a character who is around Clementine's age interact with her and seeing her react to Gabe was good. This brought Clementine back from being a survivor to a child.
I saved this one for you.
No, I've already got one. Actually, it wouldn't hurt to have another. Thanks.
I think I should go with you, actually.
That wasn't the plan, Gabe.
Actually, I was kind of hoping you'd be willing to watch my back on this one. Don't want to get surprised while I'm out there.
Yeah. Okay. I guess somebody needs to be a lookout.
What?
Nothing. Well, I know we've got something important to do. I'm teaching you to play euchre.
That's not a real thing.
It's a card game. Come on, it's fun.
While having Gabe be a child and having a huge arc during the 5 episodes because of our actions as Javi. What I hope for the next season is that we actually find AJ and see how much Clementine has really changed through her eyes rather than another character. I hope that our choices will have more meaning in the next season rather than just being disregarded and ended up in a similar way. As much as I love the story of the game and watching the scenes unfold, I hope the next season will be more hands-on like season 1, instead of just watching. Hopefully they will handle the side characters better instead of killing them off because they can or because they don't know what to do with them at the end of the season. Oh, and one last thing, please keep Clementine safe. Thank you! I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion video. Please let me know in the comments what you guys thought about A New Frontier. I know a lot of people disagree with me, especially during my Let's Plays, but yeah, please let me know what you guys thought and what you would like to see in the next season. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!